What's up, everybody? It's Chef Jay. I'm here with the wonderful Miss Candi Young. Alright, so of course I've been filming this for a while called Conversations with Chef Jay, and we wanted to really come together to do a video on purpose. And of course, Miss Young, Candi, is definitely an expert in the area of purpose. So for example, let's just talk about getting to purpose. So let's talk about what you do as relates to help people find their purpose.
Yes, so purpose is so very important, and I thank you for having this venue so we can talk about it.
Of course, thank you.
There's a lot of people who have no clue of what their purpose is, and what happens is that they become frustrated in life. So what I do is I help people understand what their purpose is, actually activate it out of them, and help them to understand like the vision that's connected to it, the goals, and to be successful so that they can live a fulfilled life.
Okay, and it's so important to do it because there's so many people who are living life and they're not fulfilled.
Right.
You know, so oftentimes people go to the job every single day and they hate it. You know, and they hate it, and it's just like when you're transitioning out of that, it's just like you wake up every day, do the same thing, but are you fulfilled?
Question.
And so that's the question of the day. So now we're talking about understanding and knowing and finding your purpose. So let's say, for example, someone comes to you. How do you start to navigate and help them find their purpose?
Well, one of my first questions is what passion do you have in life? So what is it that you love to do, something that you would do that even if you weren't paid for, you would still do it? So I would venture for you is cooking. Right?
Okay.
So understanding your purpose around cooking, because overall our purpose on this earth is to serve others.
And that's the thing about it too. It's a good point that you say that with serving. You have to be willing to serve others.
Yes.
You know, it can't just always be about you, because the more it's about you, the least edified people will be by your gift. You know, sometimes people find their gift and it becomes glitz and glam when it's not. That's not what it's even about. Your purpose is always to be a vessel to be used to help someone out. And that's a really important fact that you said that too about, you know, really serving others. And people don't realize that it's a serving of it. That's what we're called to do, serve.
Exactly.
You know?
And the gift that God gave us to be able to serve, then will make room for you.
That's good. That's good. Because even to, like, you know, you're talking about food, and I just kind of reflect back on how I got involved in culinary. Like, I know I can cook, but it's just like, if I was so caught up on, I was always caught up in finding my purpose, but if I was so caught up in what I'm getting out of it, I don't think I would have been as far. Even to like how food has helped me teach students that work for me, is also helped me to find a venue, and also just to bless people who have my food. Like, people may never have the chance to have someone smile at them, but I'm able to smile and have a conversation with them over food.
Exactly.
You know, so your purpose is really about serving others as well too.
And I will also add to that the students that you are teaching and they're helping you. Now you're helping them to understand a potential purpose that they have.
That's true.
Or a gift or talent that they have that they can run with. So.
And that's true. Even too, like, your purpose is like your light. You know, and a lot of times too, we wonder why we're placed in these situations where it seems uncomfortable, but that light, which is your purpose, really guides you to really kind of trigger other lights.
Exactly.
You know, so we can't be so surprised why we're in these situations, like, why I'm in this situation. But it's just like when you're finding your purpose, when you're living in your purpose, it's going to cause other people. It's like magnetic.
Exactly.
You know, so I really agree with you on that part. So.
And there's a phase, actually I read Purpose-Driven Life book by Warren, and the first sentence is, it's not about you. So that's huge. When you figure that out, you understand that you're not here just for yourself.
That's true.
It is to help others.
And that's true. And so we're talking about finding your purpose. What are you passionate about? So after they kind of discover, make a list or whatever they do, what's the next phase into finding your purpose?
So after you find it, you need to understand what it is. Because, you know, just knowing it is not enough. So you need to understand what that is. What are you doing in your life that is going to connect you to that ultimate purpose?
Okay.
And then after you understand it, then you act on it.
Okay. So on a personal level, what kind of caused you to really say, all right, this is my purpose, this is what I'm good at, and now how did you personally go from understanding it to actually acting out on it?
So for me, I mean, I can go all the way back to elementary, where people used to come to me and ask questions, always leading projects, leading teams, helping people to understand what it is that they're supposed to do. So when it really became that aha moment, it was like, okay, God has put me on this earth to help people understand what their purpose is. So and the difference between me and others is that I help you understand what your God-given purpose is. That's important, not
that's
just
true.
purpose. So.
And that's true, because we talked about that earlier too. Some, like, for example, I know I'm good at a lot of things, but that doesn't mean it's my purpose.
Right.
You know, and I think learning to distinguish that is another key factor too. Is like, you may be good at it, but it might not be called for you to do that. You can sing. Don't mean you should start making albums. You know, like, you gotta know, like, when it's like, okay, stay in your lane.
Right.
You know, stay in your lane and just really focus and let God lead you to really finding your purpose.
And I want to piggyback off of that. I love the scripture, Philippians 4:13, that says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. People get caught up in that all. So it's all that God has called you to do.
Yeah.
So like you said, you know, stay in your lane. Know what your gifts and talents and abilities are, and where it ties to your purpose, and that's where you should be.
And that's really true. And I know we were talking about also with acting out on it, a lot of times we had a conversation earlier about learning and growing through frustration, because sometimes when we are in a situation and we don't know our purpose, or we're trying to, like, I find that a lot of times too when I work certain jobs and I know what I'm supposed to do, and sometimes it seems like I'm not allowed to really fully do what I'm supposed to do. It's very frustrating. But then we talk about too how, like, we have to learn through that. So what do you say to someone who is trying to find their purpose, or they know their purpose, and they're in a situation where they really can't fully act and really move into it?
Yeah, that happens a lot. It's happened to me quite a few times. And what you need to do is embrace those experiences, because what you're going through, you're growing through.
That's true.
There's some experiences that God will allow you to be in to help you for the next level that you don't even know is coming.
And that's so true. And that's why, you know, you can't despise small beginnings, because you never know why you're going through it, because a lot of stuff leads us to our purpose. Everything is like, for example, Ecclesiastes say that it's the time and purpose for everything, you know. And that's why you can never even Debbie down your own situation, because you never know how this is going to build character or skill in you that you're really going to need, you know, in the future. So that's really a really good point about that point. And so now, for example, going back to when you find out what you wanted to do and you had the aha moment, it's funny that you say that, because a lot of times we're already doing is what we're supposed to do. But we think of it as a hobby, or, oh, I'm just good at this, you know, and not as like, no, this is what you're supposed to do. Wake up, you know, and realize that.
When I do some of my purpose classes or vision boards, and I ask people what their purpose is, and they say, I have no clue. And I say, well, what do you do? And what is your passion? And then they tell me, and they're doing it. I'm like, that's your purpose.
And realize it. And, you know, even to going back towards the classroom, like over the last about 6 or 7 years I've been teaching, is a lot of times too, when students in their junior, senior high school, you know, they're applying to colleges, like, well, what do I actually do? What do I want to do? And a lot of them go for business, or they go for this. I'm like, or they go for something that has nothing to do with what I've been seeing them do for the last 4 years. You've had an interest in the camera. Why are you going to school for something that's totally different from that? And I think too, what my job is to working with kids is to grab them before they invest all this money in college, all this money into doing stuff, and the next, you know, wake up 10, 20, even sometimes 30 years later, like, I hate my life. You know, and when you're not in your purpose, you really start to just hate your life. You know, and I think too. So now you said you do certain classes. So like, how did you get into actually working on doing classes and helping people find this? We know that you had that aha moment, but what was the bridge that led you into really starting to really kind of cultivate this?
So it's funny, I'm going to tie that all together with what you just said. I actually went to school for accounting information systems. The only reason I went to go through that is because everyone said, oh, there's money in technology.
That's true.
You know, and even now. So I was looking at it for the wrong reason. So, so let me do this. Let me go and study this so that I can make the money. But that's
the factor.
That, you know, that's not what God called me to do. So at my job, it's so funny, this is how God shows up. There was one particular time that an instructor was supposed to come in to teach, and they were teaching people how to speak, facilitators. So it was a week before, they called me in to do it. An entire week's class, I said, I can't do this. I said, Candi, we need you to do this. And I jumped in, and it was natural for me. So once I said, wait, I love this, I said career change. So what I went to school for is not what I did, but thank God, because he showed up and said, no, this is where you're supposed to be going. So, and the rest is history.
And that's a good point you say that, because sometimes we feel like we're not in the right place. Or like, you have the opportunity to really do what you love, but sometimes your opportunity is waiting for you to step up to the occasion.
That's right.
You know, a lot of times people say they're waiting on God, they're waiting on this to be right, I'm waiting for this to be right. But no, the time is now. You know, like the time is the time you make it. You know, so oftentimes people are waiting for things to happen, this magical thing, this unicorn to pop out and say, this is what you're supposed to do. But it's like it's already in you.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of times too, we have these different experiences in life to really plant seeds to help us to grow. You know, but it's up to us to really start really evaluating and reflecting on what we're doing and say, okay, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. What can I do to really bring this together to really kind of really bring this to fruition? And that's why I think it's great that you do the vision board part of workshops, because a lot of times we know we're good at it, but we don't really take time to say, hey, how am I going to get from point A to point Z without including the rest of the alphabet?
Right.
So how do you kind of really gravitate people and help people really go through that process?
Yeah, when people walk away from a vision board workshop, they go, wow. Because what happens is when you see a vision board, you see pictures, people think it's just kind of like, oh, that picture's pretty, let's put it up there.
Copy and paste.
Copy and paste. No, that's not what we do. So what I hope people understand is, again, that vision, the purpose that you have, what's that passion you have. Whatever you put on your vision board, do you see yourself doing it next year, the year after that, like between 1 or 3 years from that day? And some people are like, oh no, this just looks good. That shouldn't be on your vision board.
Everything literally is in gold doesn't mean it's for
exactly.
you. Yeah.
So if it's on your vision board, now once it's a visual, then on the side, then you have goals that's attached to it. Because that's the next step. You can create this vision board, it looks nice, you're looking at it every day, but if you're not acting on it, then nothing's going to happen.
And I think too, and a important part about that too, faith without works is dead. So you can have as much faith as you want to, but if you don't really add the work behind really planning it, it's not going to happen. You know, I talk to these people all the time, like, this is what you want to do, but what are you really doing to really achieve it?
Right.
You know, like talk is cheap. If you're not putting your money, your time into it, and even to, like, when I do like events, people say, oh, like, wow, you really work so hard. What do you think I do all the time? Like, it's not a joke to me. It's what I love what I do. And when you love what you do and you're passionate about what you do and you're really walking in your purpose, it's so effortlessly. Where it's just like you're doing it so much, it's like, wow. But that's why it's important to be realistic with what you want to do, because it's what you're planning in your purpose and what you're planning to do, is it really aligned together to be realistic?
Right.
Is it realistic?
And that's where we talk about SMART goals. I don't know.
That's true.
Yeah. Understand the SMART goals, because then that'll tie. Is this a SMART goal for you? Meaning, the acronym for it, and one of them is it realistic? Is it relevant? Is it timely? And you need to look at that and not just, grab something out of the air.
Just because it sounds good.
Just because it sounds
good. Or
your friend is doing it.
And that's another thing too, talking about competition, a lot of times too, you see people are doing certain things and it's just like, why are you doing this?
Right.
Is it because everybody else around? Like, don't feel pressure because what's going on around you.
Right.
What were you called to do?
Right.
Go stay in your lane, find your purpose, work your purpose. You have to work it, not somebody else's purpose.
Right.
That's a really important fact. I'm glad you said it, because it's like some people are so competitive, and it's like, I'm not your competition. I'm trying to keep myself to what I did yesterday to be a better person.
Absolutely.
It has nothing to do with you. And even talking about just that aspect of things, when you're thinking about people being competitive and what's going to your left, or this looks right, what are you currently working on with your vision? And so I think too, with the vision, how do you help people really stay focused? Like, what would you suggest to people, or what advice do you give to people about really working on what you need to do to complete and work on your purpose?
Well, number one, you have to have an accountability partner. So whether that's a life coach, that's me. Little plug. Whether it's a life coach, or have a really good friend who believes in you and is not going to allow you to kind of punk out, on things.
That's true.
You have to have someone to hold you accountable. So, what are you going to be doing? You said you're going to be doing this in the next 6 months, 9 months, a year. So once it's laid out, you need to speak it out.
That's true.
You have to speak it out. Someone has to hear you say that.
Yeah, and that's so true.
Got to hold you accountable.
And it's kind of crazy. A lot of times, and I've always been like this, the reason why I say a lot of stuff I'm going to do, people say, oh, don't talk about what you're going to do. Certain things you have to say out, because now it's an expectation of you to really complete the task. Right. And all my friends who I'm really close with, they come like, yo, you said you was doing this, why you not doing this? Right. But it's just like, and because I respect them and who they are, I know they're only doing this to help me out.
Right.
And you need that accountability because at the end of the day too, when it comes to your goals and how bad do you want it?
Right.
If you really want this, if you really want to change your life, are you willing to put the hard work and effort into doing this?
Absolutely.
You know, so I totally agree with you on that too about just really planning and things of that nature.
And can I just say,
oh no, sure, go ahead.
And speaking it out also allows you, in a vision, you know, writing it out, vision carriers.
Yes,
so
that's true.
When you lay it out, you now open it so if someone else hears what you're doing, they might say, oh, I can help you here.
And you know, and it's so funny because that's how this came about too. We just had a conversation randomly. I don't know what the conversation was about. I don't even know what we were talking about.
Yeah.
I think it was about a sip and paint maybe.
Someone asked me for
an artist.
a referral.
You know, so it's just so funny how a lot of times too, you have to know your network and your net worth because your network is your net worth.
Yes.
You know, so a lot of times too, it's so important to really line yourself up with the right people because too, we met at a school district, you know, and you were like low key my boss, you know, so it's like, and the thing about it too is just like it's so important to really watch how you carry yourself and naturally be you. You know, I didn't have to put a front for you about who I was. You know, I don't have to really try to, you know, polish up. I'm gonna be who I am.
Right.
You know, because I know I'm walking in my purpose already anyway.
Right.
So it's like when you're working in your purpose, you have to be bold enough to know I'm called to do what I gotta do. I'm not gonna try to impress you. I'm just gonna do the best that I can because this is what I love to do. And it's just from that moment, we've been cool for like at least about 4 years now. We're going into 4 years. And it's just like how God will orchestrate people to don't be afraid to talk to people. You know, like even though you're a board president, I was never afraid to talk to you. Like, hey, how are you? You know, offer some food because you know food is the way to listen.
Oh yeah.
Listen, being a chef, I mean, a lot of people by feeding them. You know, but you can't be afraid to talk to people when it comes to your vision because you just never know who's gifted at what.
Yeah, that's the truth.
You never know.
You have to speak it out.
Yeah, and you just don't judge people how you see them because sometimes too people judge people like they're not gonna support my stuff. They don't know nobody. They don't, or maybe even too it's an inferiority complex. Like I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to say the right words. Listen, I'm from an urban background. Sometimes the words get slurred. You know, so it's like it's just a reality. Listen, I'm gonna be me. You know, and that really helps you to also to really walk into your purpose when you're unapologetically you.
That is such a good point. And then also understanding getting outside of your comfort zone.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. So even too, when talking about getting outside of your comfort zone, how important is that to really walking in your purpose, going outside your comfort zone?
It's huge because you are not able to go to the next level unless you move outside of where you've been. So many times we keep ourselves in a box and because of fear, and that's exactly what it is, you don't want to move to that next level. So what happens is now you stay stuck and you're trying to figure out why am I going in circles or like that hamster on the wheel,
yes.
Like you're doing something.
Moving alive but not going nowhere.
Doing
the most.
Doing the most, right? You come home, because that's another thing too. So you come home when you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You come home at night, you're exhausted, you're tired because you're busy. You know, you're doing busy work. But when you're walking in your purpose, you're still tired. You know, you're exhausted, but you feel fulfilled because you know you're doing something that's moving towards something. So each, you go from glory to glory to glory, so there's different levels. So you have to move outside your comfort zone.
You know, and I think too, adding to that too, because you know, I'm back to doing my business full time again. And one thing I realized too was, I always love what I do, but sometimes you have to know when that season is up.
Yes. Because
so oftentimes you're in the process of always doing stuff. And sometimes, like with the obedience better than sacrifice, you're obedient to when you're supposed to do it. Now it's time to leave because now you're sacrificing your time at a place where you were only called to for a season. You know, and really just developing it like, all right, so this is my seasonal purpose. And that's why you're really supposed to have goals, because if you really do a vision board, literally, if you really take time, and you know, I learned this from one of them. Every week I would see her do a weekly plan. She had a monthly plan, a weekly plan, and then she had a daily plan with every day the night before. She went through every single thing, going over it. And I'm like, yo, that's so much work. But then when I realized it now, it really helps her keep on target. Because oftentimes, too, I was working all of these hours. She's in day school, night school, running business between there, going food shopping. I'm like, Josh, you're tired. You know, and then now that I slowed down, it's like I have clarity of mind. I feel better. I'm happier. I'm not stressed out. I'm trying to get this gray hair back off my face, go back black again, because this has all happened within the last 4 years of really the last 2 years of teaching. Like, listen, I'm 28, I look too old. But it's just like, too, when you're so busy working and not really seeing, well, what is my work doing?
Yeah.
What's the goal of all of this?
Yeah.
You know, like, so oftentimes you're just working and working and working. It's like, yeah, the money is nice, or this is nice, but after a while, too, it's like, your health is nice, too.
Yeah, that is a really good point as far as putting your goals down. First of all, you're tired because it's all in your head.
That's
right?
true.
So when it's all in your head, you're trying to remember stuff. Once you put it down on paper, you have clarity now, because everything is down on paper, and then you figure out it's a target. So you know whether you're reaching that goal or not, or if you should be still working on this goal. Because remember, got to change some things around, so you have to be flexible. People need to understand.
That's true. You got to be flexible.
Definitely being flexible, and then being able to track it to see, all right, is this the season to now move? Is this, we get so caught up in self-protection of ourselves that we don't realize or see when it's time to move. So that, that's key.
And you know, it's so amazing you say that, because I do private dining now, and I've been doing it for like the last year and a half. It's so successful now that it's just always booked. But I think about when I first wanted to do it, it was 6, 7 years ago. Met this guy, he had a great opportunity for me to do it. And I said, oh, it's really cool. Didn't work out, tried it again, didn't work out again, tried it again, didn't work out again. And then finally I said, you know what, let me just fall back. But what I did was I got a storage unit and started buying stuff, putting stuff aside. And it's, I'm like, you know, then the storage bill started getting really high. I'm like, okay, we're not going to do something with this. And then in 2016, you know, I realized, and I went back to my, like, iMessages, I had these conversations. Like, I was talking in 2016 about, I'm about to move to another place, and didn't work out. Then later on in the fall, in the winter time, I felt God said, this is the time to do it. And when it happened so effortlessly. And that's when you know you're on target. When you may have some trials and tribulations, but you know that it just flows, and you have the peace of God about it. And when I did it, it was just like such a peace about it. And then I already had everything that I needed, because even to that requires planning. Even though you might not be there yet, there will always be time in the season just to plan it. So when it's time to move, you already got everything ready, because you've been really taking time to really work on you. And you can't be afraid to work on you. You know, don't be planning everybody else, managing everybody else, that you're not managing your own self. You know, so, and that's another thing I've learned too.
It's not smart. And also, as far as what you said is moving effortlessly. However, there's going to be trials and tribulations. The one word that you said that's key that people need to understand is peace.
Yes.
As long as you have peace, that's when you'll know, okay, although all of this is happening, I still have peace in this, because I know that I'm going in the right direction. So, you know, a lot of people get caught up if there's trials and tribulations, they think, oh, I need to stop because this is not the,
no, you right there.
The path. Right.
Yeah, you right there. Because you right a quarter. Because like just relax, you right there.
Exactly. The blessing is like right there.
And that's the thing about it too. And what I even too with this whole transition leaving my job, it's just like people are like, oh, you shouldn't do this. You should leave them good benefits first. So mind you, paying for the benefits, you know, or you shouldn't do this. And even too, if you just research, if I was to study so I self-improve, if you just research how to take care of yourself, everything will be provided for you.
Amen.
You know, because if you really look at who your real source is, never was a job, never was that. It was a person who wakes you up every morning.
That's it.
You know, whoever you believe to. You know, everybody have different faith beliefs, but I'm just talking about from my personal situation. I'm gonna trust that every time I needed something, it's always been provided. Never had to go hungry. Never had to it's just like at the end of the day, it's always been provided. So really, even too, when you're walking in purpose, you have to know who gave it to you.
That's right.
Who gave you that God-given gift? Why is such a burning desire that you do it so well? And never really minimize what you do. You know, helping someone, you know, even if your gift is to be a crossing guard, you better be the best crossing guard you can ever be, because you never know how a conversation you might have might help a little kid one day where they never had no one smile at them, probably had an abusive household, but every morning they saw you, every afternoon they saw you, and you really changed their life. Because that's how important key factor is what people with purpose are. You have to be in your position, and the longer you wait where you're not supposed to be, the longer someone is suffering without the blessing you're supposed to be.
Yes.
You know,
I always say that. I say there are a lot of people who are suffering because you can't get it right. You have to get it right. There's people waiting for you.
And people waiting for you. And it goes back to obedience is better than sacrifice. You know, it's nice to sacrifice because of loyalty. Because a lot of times we're loyal to stuff that's not loyal to us. You know, it's like you're trying to be loyal, trying to be dedicated, trying to be faithful, and it's just like, who told you to do that though?
Yeah.
Where did you get in that guilt fact that you want to, oh, well, you know, I got to help this person. Oh, God, who told you that?
Right.
You know, everybody's not meant for you. Sometimes you're meant to drop a seed or water it and just keep it moving.
That's it.
You know, stop taking these projects on.
Right.
Because the more you take on projects, the more times you're really a distance away from what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah, that's why you got to mind your business sometimes, you know, so that's the reality of life too.
It's a huge distraction. It
It
becomes
is.
a distraction and people don't even realize it. They're so busy.
And it happens so small, and it keeps growing.
And it's innocent. It starts out innocent, and
Yeah.
then before you know, like, wait a minute, what happened here?
Why am I here?
Wasted
All this
so
time.
much time.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get caught up in that.
And that's the biggest thing too, what we're talking about too, is about just time and how you have to really plan your purpose. And so I think we have more to talk about with this, or did we sum it up a little bit?
I think we did. There's a lot.
It's really hard to fit like an hour conversation into like 15, 20 minutes. But I think too, just really dealing with purpose and understanding it and knowing it. We said find it, know it, act on it.
Yes.
You know, and really researching that is really about, I really urge you to take time to really break out your comfort zone.
Yes.
You know, talk to people that you have talked to before. Get a planner. You know, like Google how to, you know, find my purpose. There's so much things you can do, you know, to really help yourself out, but you have to want it. You know, nobody can want it for you at the end of the day too. It's like, talk is cheap. Do you really want this or not? And a lot of times, don't waste your time if you don't want it, really want it.
Exactly.
Because it's like a waste of time talking to you when you really don't want it.
Exactly.
You know.
There's something that you talked about as far as the job. If there's anyone out here watching this that, you know, sometimes you're at that crossroad, like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Understand that the gift that God gave you will take you anywhere. He didn't give you the job, right?
Yeah.
You know, we have free will to make that decision to look for the job, accept that job, but God gave you the gift that no one can take from you.
That's
So
true.
that gift you take wherever. So you should not feel, you know, afraid, be fearful about, okay, if I move from here, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
God is going to provide for you. He
Yeah.
gave you that gift for a reason.
And you have to really just rely on that. It's just it's a trust factor.
It is.
You know, when you're making certain moves, you know, do you trust me?
Right.
You know, and I think that's the biggest thing too, because there's been times where, you know, I'm like, I had like $5 of gas, you know, but I know I want to do my business full time, you know, when I did it last time, and it worked out well. Like, you may have fear about it, but it's okay to be afraid. But what's the real part about it is to allow that fear to really captivate you when you don't move.
Right.
You know, I heard this story from a pastor years ago. If you want to find the richest place in the world, go to a cemetery.
Great.
You know, because there's so many people who have all these goals and dreams and never manifest because they were afraid, obstacles happen. So I think our whole goal with just really talking about this conversation is just to help people really just take the step.
Yeah. And having faith over fear.
Yeah,
You said that,
very
you know,
true.
it's fear. It's
Very
good
true.
to have a certain level of fear.
Mhm.
Understand and having that faith.
Yeah.
If you have faith over fear,
Mhm.
that'll just help you keep moving.
And it'll propel you to the next level.
Yes.
All right, so I'm so thankful you're able to come talk with me today,
This is
Miss
great.
Candi. I appreciate you so much. And how can people reach you?
So if you want to reach out to me, my number is 917-216-2676.
If you're crazy, don't call her. But you know.
Amen.
We catfishing with the number, trying to call her. You know, trying to spit some game. Yeah.
So if you're trying to figure out what their purpose is, just even have an idea, I can help you, you know, start the beginning stages of that and help activate that.
So of course, she's a life coach, the planningpreneur. I don't know. That's
The planningpreneur.
The visionpreneur. I don't know, something like that too.
Yes.
The visionpreneur. But I really appreciate you so much, and you've been a blessing in my life too. Just knowing you over these last 4 or 5 years, however many years it's been, being always able to call you, you know, text you, say, hey, this is the problem I'm having. What's going on? It's important to have people in your life like this, you know, where you can have a kingdom connection where people really work for you. So thank you so much. And so thank you for watching Conversation with Chef Jay. Look out for some more. You can reach me at www.chefjaysaccounting.com. Make sure you click like, share, post the video as well too. Thank you so much.